Okay, so I see that people is joining, so I think it's a good time to start. Good morning, everyone. My name is Sandra Felipe, and I work with the Regina Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. But I want to take a minute. Thank you for taking some of your time and being here with us today. The webinar of today is called Things You Need to Know About Exporting to Latin America. And before I introduce a few key people here, I would like to go over a few logistic items. This webinar has a series of topics that will cover different aspects of the main topic today, and we'll have a Q&A session at the end of all the presentation. So if you have any question, feel free to type it in the Q&A or chat box throughout the presentations, and Hector Alonso and I will read those questions to our speakers. If you have a specific question for a specific speaker, please just mention either their name, you're gonna see their names in a few moments, or the agency name so that we are able to direct that specific question. This session is recorded, so you're gonna have a copy of this webinar. We will send you also a copy of the PowerPoint via email, and I'm gonna put my email address as well in the chat box. If you have any other questions, I'll be available there as well. And with that, I will pass it over to Michelle Sager. He's the CEO and founder of the Virginia Hispanic Chamber, and he has a few words to say. Michelle, good morning.
Good morning. First of all, I want to thank you, Sandra and Hector, and all the panelists for joining us today. I think this is really important information, but a little bit about the Virginia Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. This is part of a Let's Talk Business series. The Virginia Hispanic Chamber of Commerce has been around for over 20 years. We have made major impacts to businesses throughout Virginia. The goal from the beginning is to construct economic bridges between the Hispanic community and businesses to create, promote, and enhance business and professional opportunities. And that's exactly what we want to do today. Right now, I want to introduce our first speaker, Olga Mora. Olga comes from the U.S. Department of Service, and she has over 15 years experience connecting international trade, foreign direct investments, international and economic diplomacy for the U.S. economic and development. In her current role as an international trade at the U.S. Commerce Service, and she has made many improvements, and she really helps businesses, especially that have not done international trade, know about the opportunities. I really think this is a wonderful opportunity as more and more businesses look at opportunities outside of doing business in China because of cost savings and moving to Latin America, but to be on the same time zone. This webinar is a very important opportunity. But Olga is a specialist, and I'm going to turn it over to you, Olga. Thank you very much, Olga.
Good morning, and thank you very much, Michelle, for your kind introduction. Good morning, everyone. As Michelle mentioned, my name is Olga, and I'm the International Trade Specialist at the U.S. Commercial Service office here in Richmond, Virginia. First of all, I would like to thank Virginia Hispanic Chamber of Commerce for hosting us today and giving us an opportunity to present. And I would especially like to thank Sandra for making this event a success. I also would like to mention my colleagues who are joining the call today, Dusan Marinkovic and Diego Gattesco. And of course, I would like to thank our partners, Small Business Administration and Exim Bank, from whom you will hear shortly. So just quickly, during this webinar, we will discuss the export opportunities that exist in Latin America, assessing export finance tools and resources to increase your revenue and enter new markets with less risk. We will also review how export working capital loans can support your export financing of labor and materials, and how to finance the sale of company goods and services to international markets. Before we begin, I would also like to share some background information about the U.S. Commercial Service for those of you who may not be familiar with our organization. So very quickly, the U.S. Commercial Service is the lead trade promotion arm of the U.S. government located within the International Trade Administration of the U.S. Department of Commerce. U.S. Commercial Service trade professionals in over 100 U.S. cities and more than 75 countries help U.S. companies increase sales to new global markets. Our offices overseas are located within the U.S. embassies and consulates and are staffed with industry experts to help you understand the market and meet key decision makers. Here in Virginia, we have offices in Arlington and in Richmond, and we work very closely with our state and local partners to help you succeed in international markets. And we look forward to working with you. So now I'm honored to introduce our today's speakers. Our first speaker will be my colleague, Diego Gattesco. Diego serves as a senior international trade specialist and director for the U.S. Commercial Service in Wheeling, West Virginia. Diego was selected to lead the U.S. Commercial Services Trade Americas team. This program brings together the resources of U.S. Commercial Service offices in 14 countries and State Department sections at U.S. embassies in 9 additional markets, providing U.S. firms with a single point of access to Western Hemisphere regional trade events, services, and research covering markets throughout the region. A native of Cordoba, Argentina, Diego has experience in both public and private sector companies with extensive international sales and representation capabilities. Our second speaker today will be Bill Houck. Bill has 35 years of international trade, credit insurance, finance, and international corporate credit risk management experience. He's held management positions with the Export-Import Bank of the United States and private sector concerns specializing in asset-based lending, corporate credit card risk management, and global capital market originations. Bill is currently SBA's Office of International Trade Export Finance Manager for the Mid-Atlantic region. He's based out of our Northern Virginia Export Assistance Center in Arlington, Virginia. And finally, our last speaker will be Regina Gordin. Regina joined the Export-Import Bank of the United States in November of 2009 and is the Deputy Managing Director of the bank's Small Business Group. Prior to joining the bank, Regina spent 7 years as a Senior Vice President at Broad Street Capital Group, where she originated and managed a wide variety of international project finance and export finance transactions. Before joining Broad Street, she was a VP and Senior Financial Advisor at Wachovia, the Bank of New York, and Merrill Lynch's Private Client Group. Thank you, everyone. And now I would like to turn it over to my colleague, Diego, to begin the presentation. Thank you. Go ahead, Diego.
Good morning. Thank you, Olga. Thank you, everybody, for giving the time today. Very quickly, Olga mentioned about the U.S. Commercial Service, give an introduction, but I want to give you an idea of where we are on the maze of the U.S. government. So if you look into, you have the President, Vice President, the Cabinet, you have the U.S. Department of Commerce there, and there are different bureaus in the Department of Commerce. Ours is called the International Trade Administration, we call it the ITA. It has 3 small agencies, as you can see: enforcement and compliance, manage our free trade agreements and the agreements we have with other countries, make sure that we have a level playing field for you guys when you're trying to export, do business overseas. Industry and analysis, basically they gather information, industry and information across the world to gather the information to help you to be competitive, and we have the right information to for your industries. And then, of course, the U.S. Commercial Service. We have direct contact with our clients, would be U.S. exporters, and Olga mentioned it to be what we do. I'm just going to go over some of the services that we have. It goes from export counseling, from are you ready to export, or like let's talk to Bill and Regina for trade financing. So we cover everything in between. Market intelligence, if you're looking to what is your next market that you want to target, we can help you to identify that. Business matchmaking, that's a service that the US companies the most use. It's basically helping you. Let's say you're a small company, you're looking to Brazil, you don't speak Portuguese, and you want to do business there. We have a team. Olga mentioned we have offices all over the world. We have a US embassy, most likely we have a commercial section. And the team there, we have 1 or 2 officers that are US citizens. The rest of the team, they're locals. So they speak the language, they know the culture, and they know the industry, and they know how to enter the market. So they will help you, even if you don't learn the language or the culture, they will help you to enter this market. So we do it right now virtually, and also we're starting to do it more in person. So we obviously in Latin America, we recommend you to go travel and meet the potential clients, representatives, agents in person. So this service is going to help you to do that. And then commercial diplomacy, we have, if you're looking to get into a tender or bidding in a X country, our team can help you to do some advocacy, work with the local government and help them to kind of make sure that your name, your company, and you try to do is known. Export matter, what it matters, why are you here? What are we doing all this? You need to realize, you have heard this before, that if you're only selling here in the US, you're missing 95% of your potential customers. Same thing with the purchasing power. 70% of the world's purchasing power is outside the country. So there is a lot of there, sometimes like, oh, our product's too expensive, but your product is good and it's worthwhile for someone in another country to buy it. So just keep that in mind. And if you see, we have a lot of competitors around the world. If you see there, the graph is about the percentage GDP generated by exports. We are way behind other countries or competitors. So there's actually an opportunity there for us to do more and to help more companies in the US to export. There was a survey a few years ago we did with FedEx, UPS, and DHL, and look into how many companies export, and less than 1% do. So we want to encourage more companies like yours to be proactive and do export. Here's some of the numbers. Our mission again is growing, grow to the US exports and to help increase jobs. The math is simple. If you're exporting, you're going to increase your demand of your products, services are going to increase, and you're going to need to fill that with more workers and that's going to help you to grow. 10.7 million were supported by US exports in 2019. We work with 31,000 exporters in 2020. And this is important too. Sometimes like, oh, you're from the government, but from every dollar that is allocated from your taxes to us, we bring back about 360 to the US economy in exports, which is not bad. On average, the companies that export, like last year, I think there was 2 million average annual revenue increase for being in exporting. Also, you're going to be paying better wages, and that's going to help you to bring better employees as well. So basically, if you get involved, you're already exporting, you can grow more. If you're not exporting, we need to help you. We can help you to get into that. But at the end of the day, I just want to show you something. You are here it comes in different colors, but you're here for one reason, one main reason, but it's to get more of these, okay? They come in different colors, but I'm sure you're here because of these. And the tools and the resources you're gonna hear today from Bill, from Regina, myself, and the team, they will help you to accomplish that. You're gonna be able to get a lot of these, especially the green ones. Going to the region. Why we want to talk about the Western Hemisphere? We have the region is really, really important for the U.S. national security, for peace and prosperity that we're looking for. We are very close geographically, like we mentioned, the time zone. That's very important. Economically and culturally, we're very close to the regions. Most of you obviously have heritage and you speak Spanish, and so you think, oh, I can do business in Argentina or Chile. You can go and knock some doors, but remember, you knock in the door and the US Embassy knock in the door to a potential client, it will have a different level of results. So just keep that in mind. Also, the region has a lot of resources, natural resources, something that we hear a lot now, critical minerals. That's something we have in the region from Canada to Argentina. Fuels as well, so it's very important. Agriculture, I mean, there are a lot of countries that have a lot of power, they're becoming powerhouses. That's something that in the future is going to be very important. 47 countries, we have offices in 35. We have 35 offices in the region. We have 23 with commerce in 14 countries, but we also have the State Department that help us to in the countries that we don't have a physical presence. As you see the charts there, over 40% of the US exports went to the Western Hemisphere in 2020. If you see the numbers there, we trade twice as much with countries in the region as we do in China, and almost and more than we do as all Asia combined, which is huge. The other thing you want to look into it, free trade agreements. We have more than half of the free trade agreements markets that we have to deal with are in the region, 12 of them. Very important because we don't pay tariffs. The rules are better for you to do business there, and they're better prepared to receive your products as well and services. Some of the challenges, still a lot of turbulence in the markets. We have the influence of the US is eroding in many countries. Import barriers we see in some of the countries in the region. Big one, the recovery from COVID is coming very slowly in many of the markets. Corruption, that's one of the biggest in South America and some other countries that we have to look into it. Opportunities beyond you having some ties culturally, knowing the region, knowing what the companies might want in the region. There, we have opportunities in different industries. You can see there infrastructure, environment, renewable energies, agriculture, energy and mining, a lot in mining as well, healthcare, ICT, focus on digitalization and defense. Some of the industries that we're focusing on in all our markets right now. Projects, if your company already exporting and you're looking to get into some projects or looking at getting involved in some of the projects, here's some just a sample. There's a lot of projects out there in each country. We can work with you to look into those. But I want to give you those two links in the bottom. One is the IDB and one is the World Bank, multilateral bank, the only banks in the region. You need to look into, the link is going to take you directly to the preparation status projects. That means that they're thinking about it. So it's time for you to maybe potentially get involved as a supplier. Look who is involved and try to connect. You can connect through our offices overseas or the IDB representative there. There are right now 209 projects there in the region that you can look into it. And the World Bank is similar to preparation, but they call it pipeline. There are 143 of them right now that you can look into to see how you can get involved. Very good links there. IDB as well has a Connect Americas site that is a marketplace that you want to get involved and sign up for it. You're going to get a lot of information there. Now that you know how to get there, the resources to get prepared to go to the region, we want you, I encourage you to go to the region, actually meet with potential buyers there. And here are some of the venues that you want to use. Our first trade mission, we have been doing these trade missions since 2013, and they're very successful. The first one is in May. It's going to be hosted in Brazil, in Sao Paulo. We have a 2-day conference, and then the companies will go to do business-to-business meetings with potential clients there. In May, South America, Central America in August, and the Caribbean region in October. We'll send you this link. If you're interested, please, let's work together. This is how kind of they look like. For the experience, you get a lot of networking, a plenary session, a conference about the region, one-on-one with the officers, resources. You're going to have Exim Bank there and in Sao Paulo. So there's a lot of things that can help you to export. A lot of sponsors have a lot of resources as well to help you. So it's kind of give you an idea of what experience you're going to have. I want to pass my 10 minutes, so I want to stop there. You have there our website. And then at the bottom, there is a newsletter that we send every month. If you're interested to hear about the events that we have in the region, trade leads and things like that, let us know. You can check the link. If you like the newsletters, let us know. And we can include you on our list, and you can receive that every month to learn more about what's happening in the region. I'll go back to you, Olga, and I think that's it for me. Thank you, and now look forward for the questions.
Sorry, thank you, Diego, sorry. Okay, we'll go to our next speaker right now. Bill, please.
Good morning. Yeah, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining, and thanks for the chamber for setting this up. Appreciate being part of the panel. It's important that you understand both what SBA and Exim Bank provide before you go on any of the trade missions that Diego was mentioning. So I'm going to be brief. I only have 3 slides. But the point here is to take our contact information and connect with us. If you start working with commercial service, connect with us so we can go into more details on how we can assist you with your financial needs. So I work out of the U.S. Export Assistance Center in Arlington, Virginia. This is the makeup of the U.S. Export Assistance Center. There are approximately around 20 around the country that we're co-located with the Commercial Service, who is the lead organization. And then the 2 other partners are SBA and Exim Bank. And the reason why this partnership was put in place was that when working with the U.S. Commercial Service or your state economic development offices, in Virginia would be VDP, working capital tends to come up pretty quickly when you're looking to enter a new market. The information you're going to get from the Commercial Service will often require a company to make changes to their goods or services so that they are adapted to that market. That could involve changing languages on labeling, changing plans from English to metric, having maybe to retool to accommodate the needs of the buyer in that market. So many times companies aren't in a position to finance some of those changes required to enter a new market. So SBA is there to provide working capital loan guarantees to give you access to working capital. And then as you are working with potential foreign customers, you'll realize that you're not alone. You have competition, and buyers are going to require, maybe not initially, but they're going to be requiring open account terms potentially. So Exim Bank is there to provide payment protection, credit insurance, and they have a working capital program. So the 3 of us work very closely together to provide the solutions so that you're able to compete aggressively in pretty much any country around the world. Next slide. So the Small Business Administration, we provide loan guarantees. We don't do any direct lending. SBA's loan guarantee program typically starts at 75% guaranteed to the bank, but companies need to work with a bank to meet their commercial credit risk standards. And you may not even work with SBA at all because you'll be working with the bank because they provide the funding, and then the bank relies on us to provide the guarantee. Small businesses are relatively higher risk to lend to, so banks look to us to secure those loans, those lines of credit. And then once you add the export element to the small business profile, the risk goes up. And so we provide a 90% guarantee to the bank so that they are more open to provide working capital for export related activities. We have 3 export loan guarantee programs. Again, these are loan guarantees. You'll be working with your bank to qualify. So you'll need to provide the bank with all the credit information they require. But these are in the order of ease of use. When looking at the services provided by the Commercial Service, and knowing that you may need to take a trip, you may go on a trade mission, you may need literature, any export related activity can be funded under the Export Express program. That could, if you need to optimize your website, you could finance that. really any export related activity. You don't have to be exporting to use the program. You can be using it to work with a consulting firm, accounting firm, what have you, to build an export business plan. And it also is very flexible because it covers all the other export activities, such as accounts receivable, inventory. You can buy equipment under that program. You can finance the acquisition of another business under that program. Really, it covers the entire gambit of a company's export development needs. So this is the one that most companies will start with, and this is the one that you would be used in your export development plan. Again, working with the U.S. Commercial Service. The drawback on with the program is it only goes up to $500,000. So once a company starts using a combination of working capital to finance transactions and adding export credit insurance, typically a company is going to see a pretty fast growth in export sales. So the export working capital program is there to provide a company a larger amount of lending capacity. It goes up to 5 million. SBA's total exposure with any one company is 5 million. And this is for larger pools of receivables, inventory, single transaction, purchase order financing. And if you need to get a bank guarantee, or if you need a bid bond, standby letters of credit can be done under that. And that also can be done under the Export Express program. But this one is for once a company, again, uses a combination of working capital, finance receivables, and credit insurance, they find themselves needing to graduate, so to speak, to the export working capital program. Lastly, typically what will happen is over a course of 3 or 4 or 5 years of again, using that combination of working capital and credit insurance, companies will outgrow their current facilities. They may need to hire more people. So the international trade loan is there to provide the backing for permanent working capital or fixed asset financing, or to buy a facility, build out a new facility, or buy it or acquire a company. It's there to provide greater capacity to meet the demands that exporting brings to the company. As Diego said, you're looking at most of commerce being outside of the United States. It's a big world out there. And so these programs are there to provide the capacity to meet the demands of meeting all the export sales that could be generated each year. So we have the next slide, we have a grant program. Next slide, please. Great, thank you. We have a grant program that each state applies for. That's run out of my office, the Office of International Trade. This grant program provides states with money that can be distributed to small businesses that apply for the for their particular grant program. So that, let's say you are going to go to Brazil, and you are in need, or you're wanting to cover some of the costs to go to that trade mission, either the booth or airfare or whatever is covered by that state's grant program. This is the State Trade Expansion Program, STEP. You can apply to be reimbursed for those expenses. In most cases, it's up to a maximum of $10,000. This is a reimbursable grant program. So you would go on the trade mission, you would incur those expenses, keep the receipts, submit the receipts to the state, and then the state will reimburse you, again, up to the maximum of what their grant program allows. So you're not alone. There is, this is This is not a loan. This is so to speak, kind of free money, but it is a reimbursable program. If you go to sba.gov/step, you can get the contact information for the grant manager of, in the state that you're located. And I believe that's it for me. And thanks again for, allowing me to, provide an overview of our programs.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Bill, for a wonderful overview of SBA. Regina, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for allowing us into your offices and giving us this bit of your time to learn more about the resources available from the U.S. government. It's great to be here with all my colleagues, but I look forward to seeing everyone in person one day very, very soon. Special thanks to the Chamber, Olga, Sandra, and your teams for making this possible and doing all the heavy lifting behind the scenes. This says Exim 101 because it is. This is just meant to give you a brief overview of what we do at Exim Bank. And so the presentations are brief. We will have a question and answer session, but please, if anything holds true for you, if anything sounds interesting, please feel free to reach out to me directly and I will be happy to work with you one-on-one to answer whatever questions you may have. Next slide, please. For anyone who is unaware, Exim Bank is the official export credit agency of the United States. We are the export finance arm. So whereas Diego and Olga work for the commercial service, which is the export promotion arm, Exim is meant to help finance those exports. And our mission, like theirs, really is to help maintain, create, and grow jobs through the export of US made goods and services. We were created in the 30s under President Roosevelt's administration. We are headquartered in Washington, DC. In many ways, we're a small business ourselves with just about 500 people. And we're co-located in the UZ axis, as my colleague Bill mentioned, throughout the US. Those of us who work directly with the small and medium-sized business community. Next slide, please. So our financing is, how do we make a difference? Our financing is meant to minimize risk, both for our exporters as well as the lenders who work with our programs. We're also meant to level the playing field so that we give our folks the same kind of support that their counterparts or their competitors have from their export credit agencies overseas. And we also supplement commercial financing. Here in the US, our agency is meant to support the banks, not compete with them. So we only get involved if and when they are not able or willing to do so. Next slide, please. Everything we do at Exim falls into one of three buckets. All our programs fall into these three areas. Two programs are focused on helping support the US exporter directly, and one is a foreign buyer program. The Working Capital Guarantee Program is one of those programs that helps support the US exporter. And very much like the SBA programs that Bill talked about, the Working Capital Facility is a guarantee that is extended to a lender to encourage them to lend money to exporters for their export-related working capital needs. Our guarantee is for 90%, so we hope that by taking the bulk of the risk, that the bank would lend money, whereas otherwise they may not be willing to do so. These are transaction-specific loans, or they can be set up as revolving lines of credit, so it really depends on the needs. The advance rates are up to 90% on foreign receivables and 75% on inventory and WIP. And so what we're hoping to do is double the borrowing base over what it would be through a traditional lending program or through a traditional type of loan. Next slide, please. The second program, and probably the most important and popular one with the small business owner, is the Export Credit Insurance Program. And what this program does is insure foreign receivables against non-payment. So let's say you're a US company that's doing business in Colombia, and you want to be able to ship your product and get paid at some point in the future. This is a program that allows you to do so comfortably, knowing that if the receivables are insured by Exim Bank, that if that buyer doesn't ultimately pay you, Exim Bank will pay you. So clearly, this is a program that is focused on preventing risk and risk mitigation. It covers you for both political as well as commercial risk. I know we're always worried about that buyer that may not want to pay us or goes out of business, but sometimes you have a perfectly good buyer and you just can't get the money out of the country because there is something going on politically, as we see happens all over the world every day. So these policies protect you against both political as well as commercial risk. So while they're used primarily for risk mitigation, they can also be used as marketing tools. So let's say you're typically asking your buyers for cash in advance. Knowing that you have this tool in your toolbox and you may be able to comfortably extend credit, you can now openly let your buyers know that, assuming they pass the muster and you're able to extend credit to them, that it opens up your world to allow you to sell to many more customers. And lastly, it's also used as a financing tool because now the banks look at this insurance policy as US government risk instead of some foreign buyer risk. And I guess I should mention here that as opposed to our financing programs where we're just the guarantor, the money comes from financial institutions. On the credit insurance side, the policies are underwritten in-house, they're issued by Exim Bank, and backed by the full faith and credit of the US government. So you can see how this can also be a tool to help with your financing needs. Next slide, please. And I wanted to also mention the medium-term financing. If there is anyone out there who is selling any type of capital equipment and they have buyers who need finance, we have a financing program for them as well. It works very much in the same manner as the working capital guarantee program in that the guarantee is issued to the lender interested in financing the transaction, except the buyer is the repayer of the debt instead of the US exporter. Our medium-term program is able to go up to $25 million and is typically limited to 5, exceptionally 7 years, but we do have also a long-term financing support for those that go above the $25 million and above the 10-year that need board approval. And into that program falls everything from large capital equipment like airplanes, construction equipment, medical equipment, etc. But please keep in mind that if you are exporting capital equipment and your buyer needs financing, this may be a program that where it may be able to help your export business as well. Next slide, please. This is my contact information. I want to be mindful of the time and make sure that we have plenty of time for questions. Whatever we don't get to hear, I'm very, very happy to have a one-on-one meeting with you offline, whether it's just to answer a quick question or before you go on that very important trade mission so that you're armed with the information you need in order to expand your business. Thank you so much for your attention. Olga?
Thank you very much, Regina. This was our last speaker for today. And at this point, I would like to turn it over, I guess, to Hector. Hector?
Thank you, Olga. Our questions are going to be primarily from the focus of small and medium-sized businesses, which is probably understandable since the larger companies tend to have their own resources. So the first question from our participant is for Mr. Houck. Are the programs that you discussed only available within the Commonwealth of Virginia or broader?
As noted, we're co-located with the U.S. Commercial Service in 20 areas in 20 states, but there are district offices in every state, SBA district offices in every state. So SBA provides these programs throughout the United States.
Okay. Another small business kind of question to the group. So hypothetically, let's say I run a small business of $100,000, $200,000 revenue in Richmond, Virginia, and I have a device that I think would sell well in Latin America, but that's all I know. So to whom do I make my first phone call to get assistance on the market and the financing and all that? Should it be to the Export Assistance Center, or where do I make that first phone call to get engaged?
This is Bill. This might be a good opportunity for Diego or Olga to kind of go through, export readiness to determine where they should make that, to what, they could call a commercial service, or if they're not quite export ready, to contact their local small business development center. But Olga or Diego, do you guys want to kind of run through that real quickly?
Yeah. Just going to Olga, Dusan, the team. What if you're not calling from Virginia? Just go to. You can search. We can send you a link. You can search your zip code, and they will give you the office you need to contact. It's very important to talk to us so we can help you. But also, if another thing that you might have in mind, let's say you're traveling to a country to do a trade show or something. Let us know ahead of time so we can make sure maybe you connect with the U.S. Embassy there. Because when you are in their minds, especially in Brazil and in Argentina, or whatever country you're looking at, if something comes up, it was like, oh, I met this company from Virginia. I know that they have this product, and they will contact us and send us the trade lead or something that they come up with. So very important for us to know you very well, and very important for colleagues overseas to know that you exist. So things can come out your way.
Thank you.
And Diego, if I can just add to that, Hector, real quick, that the more lead time that we have from a company that lets us know sort of they may have plans to travel overseas or working on a project, the more lead time that we have, the better of a job that we can do for those companies, because it allows our staff to do some pre-market assessments, maybe some market research, reach out to potential industry contacts and so forth. So like Diego said, anytime that you might know of a potential trip or something going on, give us a heads up, and we'll start working with you right away.
That's an excellent point. If I might be able to add also, please, lead time is great, and prep time is also really important. So if you're just starting out, make sure you have your ducks in a row. Make sure you understand what it is you want to do. Make sure you have a business plan, both domestic and export. If you are a domestic business already, that's great. If you're looking to start exporting, Hector mentioned it may be relevant to a business just starting to export. You want an export plan. On Bill's slides, there was a link for the SBA's planner, which is excellent. So make sure you look at those resources and that you get your ducks in a row for what you're trying to accomplish, and then you'll better be prepared for those conversations, whether it's with a commercial service or with your banks or with Bill and myself on the financing side.
Victor, just to add an example, a client of ours was having a trip to Spain for their wedding anniversary, and they told us ahead of time. We were having a meeting that's, oh, I'm going to Spain. Oh, when are you going? So the wife, I'm not sure, was very happy, but we had a quick trip to Madrid and have some meetings there. That trip ended up being a $50 million deal 6 months later. So anytime you go, and even if you're going on vacation, you have a day to maybe meet someone, it will be worthwhile.
That's great. Thanks. Regina, one question for you. What is the range of support that the Exim Bank can give? If I have a small business again with a few employees, maybe $100,000 revenue, am I still eligible for Exim services or not?
Of course, absolutely, Hector. And thank you for asking that question. It's an important one. Very often people think of Exim as helping only large businesses, but in effect, 90% of our businesses fall into the smaller, medium-sized business community. And that's because widgets cost less than airplanes. The dollar amounts are big on the large business side, but really in terms of the number of customers who we support, it's over 90%. So we work, and I almost exclusively work with small businesses. So there's no need for businesses to apologize for being small. They are the driving force of this economy. The government recognizes that. And so there are many, many resources, both Exim and otherwise, to help support them in their efforts. I know we're talking about the export side, but there are plenty of domestic programs as well, both on the local, state, and municipal level. So make yourselves aware of what is out there for you. But to answer your question, no, there is no limit to the number of employees with who we work or their revenue, if that's the question.
Okay, one question, I'm not sure for who in the group, but has to do with online sales. At the chamber, we get approached a lot by people who have started online selling here in the US. And they're thinking, you know, once you get online, it's worldwide. So is there any federal agency that provides assistance for people that would like to do their selling and marketing and fulfillment online?
Susanna, Olga, if you want to chip in, but we do have a program right now. I think it costs about $100 to do, but we basically analyze your website to see how your voice is built, if it's international friendly, and what basically we work with you to make it better, to be more proactive for internationals, for e-commerce, basically. So we can do that for sure, very, very inexpensively, and help you to have a globalized site, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And just to add to Diego's note, we do have kind of like Trade America's team, we have the e-commerce team, and that's we help companies that maybe don't have a physical presence, only online presence, to figure out how to reach more customers and how to be more competitive. So yes, that's the support that we can provide.
Okay. Again, from a small business perspective, do you offer any matching? Let's say I'm a medium-sized business. Do you offer any matching to match my product with a bigger company that's already in those markets, where I could almost be a subcontractor providing products to that bigger company who then exports for me? Is there any kind of database or anything where you match the larger companies with the smaller companies?
This is Bill Houck. The census may have those types of resources. I don't know if it drills down to the company name. I don't believe it does, but probably depending where you are. I mean, one quick source would be the State Economic Development Office and the Small Business Development Center. They work with companies all the time, and they may have a suggestion for a local partner or a larger firm looking for suppliers. So I would suggest first contacting the State Economic Development Office to see if they can provide that kind of matchmaking.
On the international side, I'm just sharing very quickly. I mentioned this, the IDB has this marketplace. There are close to 400,000 businesses here, but you can set up your account here and you can sell your products. You can find companies that might be looking for your products. But the beauty of this, not only is the marketplace, you can look into projects in the region. And then what I really like, two things. One is when the cost estimator, like if you're shipping something, they can give you an estimate of how much it's going to cost you. And then they have an app you can have in your phone. It's called the Build the Americas. You can see every single project in the region, and then you can go down to the suppliers in country that might be working with that project. So you can be in touch with them. We can help you to do that at the post level and be in touch to see if you can provide your products or service to that project. It's really, really cool. It's easy to use the app. So we recommend we can send that information to you guys so you can share it. But this is very useful, like to do what you're looking at, to match with someone that can help provide your products.
Yeah, that's excellent. I wasn't aware of that. Great.
Since you mentioned indirect exports, I did want to mention that on the financing side, you can avail yourself of Exim's or SBA's working capital facilities. If, let's say, you are selling to a company, you are not exporting directly, but you are selling to a company that is then exporting your product or uses their product in their manufacturing process that is then being exported, you can also obtain these working capital facilities to finance that business.
Great. Excellent. Thanks. Regarding services, if I have an idea, and I think my idea might be the next Uber for the whole world, can you assist me in exporting that idea to the world, to Latin America?
Exporting ideas is the function of the Department of Commerce, but from a financing perspective, we absolutely can. That's a growing sector of the work that we do at Exim, of our portfolio, and we help many service providers, whether it's consulting services, landscape designers, architects, you name it, engineering across the board. So we do support the export of services in addition to goods.
Okay, great. Thanks. Sandra, do you have any questions on your end?
I think there's just one question that actually we were discussing earlier with Olga, and so if the audience can hear the answer, I think that would be great. And it was in terms of pricing. If a business knows the price here locally in the United States, are there any resources that help new exporters to price their products overseas? And I think who can answer that question, Olga or Diego?
There are several things. I just show you one from Connect Americas. There's a lot of things online you can look into to price. We also have a trade.gov site. You can find that information also there, how you need to price, because if you're selling to a free trade agreement country, if you're not, you have to look into the tariffs, you need to look into taxes, you need to look into a lot of considerations to come up to a price. But we have a guidance there on our trade.gov site.
Yeah, and if you talk to us, we can, sort of look through and help you figure out what those duty rates would be, what the taxes would be based on the product that you make, and we can sort of come close to what the landed cost would be. And I've seen also in the private sector, I've seen customs brokers actually provide this service for a fee. Not sure exactly what they charge, but they can actually give you almost like an exact estimate of what that end product. We can come close, just as long as you have a general idea of what it's going to cost you by the time that good gets to that final consumer.
Yep. On the chat,
you touch. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Diego.
Now there's a video on the chat. I put a link of the video so you can learn about how to price your product there as well.
Awesome. Not Darshan, I think you touch a pretty good point in terms of custom broker matters. Sometimes exporters, when they have to look at logistic items or that type of things to export their products, do you offer any resources, or do you have contacts with referrals that can help them with the paperwork, with the shipping conditions and things like that?
Yeah, we do work with them a lot. We have a lot of lists, like normally different offices have a list of custom brokers near us, so companies can work with them. But yes, we don't go for one or the other one. We just provide a list, and companies can look into it.
Yeah, we can't help the company complete the paperwork just because we're not the experts. But we always highly recommend companies to work with a professional, with a custom broker or a shipping company that often will have a custom broker. But like Diego said, we do have those relationships, and we can just direct the company.
Okay, I think we're down to our last question. I'd like to start with Regina and then maybe have some of the other panelists step in. So what general advice would you give someone who is not currently in the export business or who may be in the export business but wants to grow it? What general advice would you give to how to start or grow and exporting to Latin America?
Thank you for the question. That is an important one. So for anyone starting the export side, please, I encourage you to do so because 95% of the world lives outside of the United States. So if you're doing business domestically, please explore working outside of the US. If you're already you have your toes dipped in the foreign markets or in Latin America, please continue to do your homework. The biggest advice I can give is to prepare. Make sure that you have all your ducks in a row. If you need financing, understand what's available. And again, make sure you understand how much money you need, what you're trying to accomplish, because when you're talking to those banks, the easiest thing for them to say is no. So make sure that you come across as someone who knows what you're doing, where you're going, why you're going, where you're going. Make sure that they understand that they should want to grow with you and thereby making the process that much easier. So that would be my piece of advice.
This is Bill. Yeah, I think most companies find that their U.S. market will eventually, start to flatline a little bit. Goods or services, a company should be looking at the globe as their marketplace, as part of their overall business plan. So it's important to have a strategy in your business plan to provide your goods or services overseas, to provide a sustainable future of revenue growth, and understanding where your products would be best applied. You can work with the small business development centers and then also the U.S. Commercial Service to determine where in the world your goods or services are best applied, and then strategize from there. But all I can say is every company, again, goods or services, should be looking or should add the global marketplace to their business plan.
Thank you.
In my case, I'm going to narrow down to one word: commitment. We work with a lot of companies. We work sometimes with the owner, sometimes with the international sales representative or the sales manager. And we can make a lot of noise and do a lot of things, but if the company does not have the commitment to invest time and resources to get into the exporting process, it might take time, but you need to put an effort and invest, travel, go there and meet with potential buyers. If you want to make a lot of these, like we talk about, you have to have the commitment to do so. Be proactive, not just reactive to maybe some orders that you're receiving. Find out where your next market is. Use the resources you learned today, and there's a lot of them, to be proactive and engage and go out there and find more customers. You will find them.
Thank you. Okay, well, thank you.
I would just like to add too, I think Latin America is becoming a lot more attractive now, especially with the uncertainty of what is happening worldwide in Russia, China, and Asia. And companies are reevaluating, looking at North America, South America as options for manufacturing. And there's the cost in China has risen dramatically over the years. And so a lot of companies are revisiting the opportunity, especially in Latin America.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks to all the panelists. And Sandra, I'm going to turn it back over to you for the next, for the closing of the meeting.
Yeah, well, no, thank you, Hector, and thank you again, everyone, Diego, Regina, Bill, Olga for partnering with the Virginia Hispanic Chamber to bring this type of topics. It's very exciting for us because we haven't touched base on this recently, and knowing just about all the resources that the government, US government has for businesses, open more doors and more questions, and hopefully the audience have learned something new and they can reach out to you or to us and we will direct them to you. And I will just turn it over to Nicholas. I think he has some remarks to give, but again, thank you so much and we'll be in touch soon. So Nicholas, go ahead.
Hey, everybody. Absolutely. I'm going to keep it very brief. First of all, thank you to all of our attendees for joining us today. And of course, to our amazing speakers. My name again is Nicholas Johnson. I serve as the Director of Sales Operation for the Virginia Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. So as Michelle mentioned, and he did, kind of go over this a lot at the beginning of the meeting, our job is to create bridges throughout the community to create, promote, and enhance opportunities for our partners. So a lot of what we do, throughout the community in general is just going and reaching out and finding new things to actually go through the community. So we are reaching out and finding issues. And then on our side, we are creating events in different ways to manage those issues and to reach out more to the Latino population and find new outlets to reach out to the Latino population. We're a 21-year-old organization. So if you can imagine 21 years of identifying those issues and creating events around those issues, we do a lot of work. So what we do right now, as well during these times is creating new tools, virtual tools and events to assist the Latino community to overcome limiting barriers, whether they're language, cultural, or financial barriers. So during these last 2 years, our goal has been to keep doors open. A lot of these businesses that have been suffering, and by creating new ways to engage businesses, new virtual platforms, sites, as well as constantly updating our resources with necessary and up-to-date information, we've seen our visibility, even though, 21 years of business, our visibility went from 700,000 views a year to over 1.4 million. We've created new job boards at this time that are up over 400%. Our sites are all up over 270% in these last 2 years. So there's been a very strong pivot and in the right direction. So all of this means that, we are reaching more families and businesses than ever before. So our chamber really takes pride in mirroring our community. That's what we say a lot, is businesses must mirror their changing community. And as the Latino population continues to grow, businesses also have to take this path and learn to adapt in order to fit the needs of this changing country and its residents. So the Latino population and businesses are growing at incredible rates. Everyone in this room knows that. And with new businesses starting every day, it's not going to change. So we're here to help build that bridge for you, whether it's nationally or internationally. These types of meetings and what Sandra does with Hablamos de Negocios and our Let's Talk Business courses and these amazing webinars with amazing speakers like you all today is how we're able to really bridge this gap, take these things virtual, have these recorded, putting them out there so that we can get it out to all these constituents, not only in Virginia, but across the state and internationally as well. So finally, we have 3 sites I'd love to point out. Be sure to check out our vahcc.com site where you can find our 2021 annual reports, simply to learn more about the organization and all that we do. The vahf.org, which is our foundation side that works with students across the state. In the last 2 years, we've seen terrible dropout rates for Latino high school students, and we want to make sure that this is our future workforce, our future population, the future of our country, and we want to make sure that education is at the forefront of this as well. So, and to learn, go to that VHF to learn how to become a mentor in our community, how to work with us on our Passport to Education programs and more. And on to the fun stuff now. We do have our upcoming Que Pasa Festival coming up. It's one of the largest Latino festivals in Virginia that takes place right in the canals of downtown Richmond. And that's going to be a fantastic time as well. So please visit that www.quepasafestival.com. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to you, Sandra, to close off. Thank you again so much to everybody today for joining, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Nick. So, well, just lastly, we have a brief survey that you're gonna see once this webinar finishes. If you can take a moment to complete it. It's about 2 to 3 questions. We just want to know how we did and what else you would like to hear about international trade. If you have any other question that wasn't covered in this webinar, please feel free to contact me at sandra.felipe@vahcc.com. And if there are any other topics that you would like us to cover, please feel free to reach out. And I think that's it for today. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to the panel of today, and thank you to the audience for taking some of your time to join in. I guess that's it. And until next time, take care,
Thank you all so
everyone, and have
much.
a great
Thank
day.
you. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.